It's late fall in Metro Detroit. It's getting cold and snowy, but the good deals are starting to heat up. Let's get into it. Hey guys, how you doing? Derek here from M1 Realty. I'm the broker owner, founder of the company. Started M1 in 2014. It was me and a laptop on the third floor of an office suite in Ferndale, Michigan. Fast forward to today, I've got a storefront right at the main corner of Ferndale, and I've got an all-star team of agents. So whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest, rent, whatever you need, we've got you covered. We can even do property management for you now. So as of right now, it's November in Metro Detroit, and that means that our market, we've got about 2.5, 3 more weeks of things kind of chugging along the way they have been before typically things really start to slow down in our market. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, and I'm going to tell you why. Typically what we see is as we get close to Thanksgiving, we're going to see the market just completely fall off a cliff. And that happens almost every year. Last year was a notable exception, but that wasn't like across the board in Metro Detroit. That was more Woodward Corridor specific. But typically what we're going to see is when it gets into holiday season, people around here, for whatever reason, really aren't thinking about buying or selling real estate. So, anytime, I always say between, Thanksgiving and New Year's is typically when, as a broker here, what I'll do is kind of revamp my training, kind of put our long-term goals into place for the brokerage for the year, things like that, simply because there's not as much activity. I'm not out there working with clients as much and showing houses and putting signs in the ground, things like that. There's just not the demand for it usually that time of year. And this year is kind of we're kind of trending a little bit more like last year, not exactly. So I don't think we're going to see that big bump of inventory in the middle of November. I hope we do, but I don't think we're going to like we saw last year. So this is kind of tracking kind of in between what we usually see and what we saw last year. So we'll see what happens. No matter what happens, I'll report it back to you, obviously. But I'm kind of game planning for a slowdown through the new year once we hit Thanksgiving. And as we see the sales activity, when it peaks out in the summer and then it's kind of downhill till this time of year, and as we get into like the middle of winter, as we kind of emerge into late winter, early spring, we're going to see things pick back up. But we're going to see a corresponding fluctuation in average sale price as well, or at least we have every year that I can go back and track. So I would be shocked if we didn't see the same thing this year, but you never know. And again, I'll report back if anything changes. But that's kind of what I'm game planning for as well. So as we hit the peak in summer, that's our top of our number of homes on the market as well as our average sale price. And then as we head back down, that's the lowest average sale price we're going to see for the entire year, and it's also the fewest number of homes we're going to see on the market. And I mean, there's a couple of reasons for that. They're pretty obvious. I mean, the holidays, I've already touched on that a little bit. Between Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, people's heads just aren't in the real estate sector, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's all I think about 24/7, but I'm a weirdo like that. Plus, this is how I make my living, so I don't expect the average consumer out there to be obsessed with real estate on Christmas Eve. So that makes sense. And not to mention, we are in Detroit, Michigan, so the weather does play a factor in that. People don't want to move when there's 3 feet of snow on the ground and it's snowing sideways and it's 10 degrees. That's just no fun. So that makes complete sense as well. But let me talk a little bit. We'll break it down a little bit about what the average fluctuation is, and then talk about how this might actually not be a bad thing depending on what type of property you're looking to purchase. So in doing my research for this video, I kind of went back to like the last 3 or 4 years, because that's we've been in a similar low inventory market since then. Before that we had a quote unquote normal amount of inventory, and this is pretty much nationwide. Everybody's seeing a shortage in inventory right now. There's actually more licensed realtors in the United States than there are homes on the market in the United States right now, and it's almost like a 2-to-1 factor. I think there's 1.5 active licensed realtors nationwide, and I think there's something only I haven't checked in a couple weeks, but I think there's only something like 900,000 homes on the market right now. So there you go. But specific to Metro Detroit, what we typically see is June. Last 4 years, June has been the peak in the average sale price. February has been at the bottom. So we talked about this a little bit last week, but I'll just kind of refresh your memory right now. The reason why February is the low point, a lot of that has to do with when those homes go under contract. So a typical escrow period is going to be about 30 days for a conventional or an FHA mortgage. It could be even more for like FHA or VA or MSHDA, if you're familiar with that, which is a down payment assistance program. Those can take up to like 45 days sometimes to close. So even though those homes are closing in February, they're going under contract in December and January. So, that kind of makes sense. So, because usually by February, I'm just going to, as an aside here, February is my favorite month out of the year to list a home. The reason why is that's when we really start to see, kind of things starting to pick back up a little bit. People that are going to purchase a home that year, they might start out with the intention of waiting until spring and, in May or June, I'm going to go ahead and buy a house. But they start to get their finances in order. They get that pre-approval, and then they start looking at, the Z Company or Realtor.com or M1Realty.net, which is the best resource to research your properties. But, they start, doing their research. They see a house they like. They got the pre-approval. They're going to jump on it. So that's when we really typically have seen, and this is going back like the last 9 or 10 years, where we can really get multiple offers on homes, because at that point in time, you put your house on the market in February, you're not going up against as much competition, but the people that are ready to buy are still ready to buy. They're still there. So, it just makes the most sense. Like, why would you wait until June to put your house on the market when you can go up against the least amount of competition? That's just me. But that being said, so what we're seeing as far as average sale price, that's why February is the lowest, even though the market is already starting to pick back up in February. And, and the number of homes on the market just almost is a 1-to-1 correlation. So we're seeing, less inventory on the market in the middle of December. And it makes sense as to why. It goes back to, people don't want to move in the middle of wintertime. And, a lot of people, they don't want to sell their house when their kids are still in school and you're like halfway through the school year. So there's a lot of reasons why that's the lowest point of the year. But, what we tend to see is, a pretty good fluctuation in average sale price and an even bigger fluctuation in the amount of inventory that we have. But the average over the last 4 years has been an 18.4% difference between what homes are selling for at the peak of the market in June and what they're selling for at the bottom of the market in February. So they're selling for you can save yourself 18.4% on that house by purchasing it in winter. That's not a bad deal. And outside of that average, actually 2023 was the biggest fluctuation out of those 4 years. It was over 20% difference between what homes were selling for back in February and what they were selling for in June of this year. And then as far as the number of homes on the market, there's actually a bigger gap between the top of the market and the bottom of the market. It's actually 36.6% on average. And that's over the last 3 years, because I didn't have stats for 2020. But 21, 22, 23, it's 36.6% fewer homes on the market in February than there are in the summertime. So the reason why this is potentially good news for you, a lot of the people that watch this channel are real estate investors. Not everybody, but a good percentage of the people that watch this channel invest in real estate, and that doesn't really have an off season, because you're either going to be buying a bank-owned property or an estate or just a starter home. Like there's less fluctuation there, because that part of the business doesn't have a busy season or a slow season. It just kind of is always going. And same with investors. I tell my agents all the time, like, if an investor finds a great deal on Christmas Eve, they're going to write an offer on it that day. So there's not really a downtime for the investment side of the real estate business. And consequently, same way with with the amount of inventory on the market. The higher end stuff, like I said, people are going to wait till their kids are out of school in June to put their home on the market and the whole 9 yards, and they want to be in a place before September. That's why the busy season for residential real estate as a whole in our market is in the summertime. But this, the investment side doesn't really take time off. I mean, somebody gets a flip ready, they're not going to wait until June to put it on the market and just let it sit there for months and months and months. They're going to put that house on the market and sell it. Same with foreclosures. Like, there's not a slow time for the REO sector of the real estate business. So those houses are going to keep hitting the market. Houses that are in probate or short sales or you name it, they're going to keep hitting the market. So all that means is, the higher end stuff definitely has a big fluctuation in terms of the amount of volume that we have on the market. The lower end stuff where we primarily concentrate on the investment side, there's going to be a steady amount pretty much right across the board throughout the entire year. But that being said, there are fewer people looking, like owner-occupant buyers. There's not quite as many of them looking in November through January. So that's part of the reason why that average sale price fluctuates so much. So if you play your cards right, you can pick up that same house in January for 18.4% less than what you pay for it in June. We're gonna keep looking. And the one kind of wild card that I'm waiting to see how this all shakes out is we've got that last 4 years of data. But it wasn't until this year that we really saw the interest rates, quite substantially higher than, the first 2 years, like 2020, 2021. We were talking, literally in the interest rates in the 2s and 3s percentage-wise. 2022 they started going up, but I don't think we were even at 6% by the end of the year in 2022, and now we're almost at 8%. But that being said, the Fed has gone 2 meetings without raising their rates. So I think conventional wisdom, and we'll see how everything plays out, but I think they might be done raising rates. That's kind of what everybody's thinking. We're going to start seeing a gradual decline in where mortgage rates are at, and the key word in that is gradual. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be down in the 5s by the end of the year at this point. I know that's kind of what people were talking about 6 months ago. I think that ship has sailed. But we're also not going to be, I'm knock on wood, I really, really hope to not be talking in a year from now about how rates are in like the 9s or anything like that. I don't think I will be, but I don't want to jinx myself. So, I think what we're going to start seeing is rates are going to start kind of drifting down a little bit at a time, which is going to make it a little easier for everybody to buy homes. Like, nobody wants to, obviously you don't want to pay for a higher rate than you have to. So, that's kind of what we're going to be looking at. I don't know what kind of effect that's going to have on the overall market, but I'm eagerly checking those numbers, and I'll report back as soon as I have some kind of concrete data as far as that goes. But the moral of the story there is, if you are looking to purchase a home in our market here, don't take the winter off, because I'm certainly not going to be. I'm out there. I was out there today. I looked at I think 7 or 8 homes. And out of those 7 or 8, there were 3.5 that were pretty good buys. So I sent those out, and we'll see what happens with those. But that's kind of what I'm doing every single day. Like, I'm constantly checking the MLS just to make sure, to see what else popped on the market. If anything really looks good, I'm there. The areas that I really look at, that I'm checking like literally 8, 9, 10 times a day, are right in a couple mile radius of Ferndale, because there's some really good investment opportunities, not necessarily in Ferndale, but the surrounding cities are just a gold mine for great rentals. So that's where I check, and that way something hits the market, unless I have an appointment, I can literally be at that house within the same hour that it hit the market, generally speaking. Yeah, so I just want to end with that. I'm going to be working every single day all the way through the middle of winter. So if you're looking to buy or sell, you know where to find me. My direct line is 586-491-5622. You can also reach me at 248-561-6155. Shoot me an email, dwerenka@m1realty.net, or Facebook Messenger, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it. I'm on it. I respond quick. Well, I hope this helps, guys. Thanks again for watching. Anything I can do for you, just reach out. And other than that, we will talk to you next week, and have a great one.